these things are weird, man. Like, you hear about doctors disappearing all the time. I want to be there. I want to take care of you guys for a while. Cool? We good? You guys ready? Awesome. So who are guests here today? First time in our office? Guests? First time here? One. I think I know almost all the other faces. There's another guest there. I haven't met you yet. Okay, one more. Awesome. Welcome, you guys. So, so most of you guys are patients here. This is one of our advanced talks that we do. So I'm not going to go as in-depth to certain concepts such as like exactly what your breakfast, lunch, and dinner should look like, for example, for anti-inflammatory causes. What we're going to spend a lot of time going over today is some of the more advanced underlying causes of heart disease, of hypercholesterolemia. We're going to answer some questions like, does high cholesterol cause heart disease? Should I be worried if I have cholesterol problems? My doctor wanted me to take up statin medication. I'm going to go over when you should and should not based on me, because I'm not your doctor who prescribed it, but based on what the research shows should actually be done for proper prevention of heart disease. We'll talk numbers needed to treat, which is a kind of a scientific analysis looking at the net cost versus benefit of certain medications that are out there. I'm going to spend probably 20-30 minutes talking about all of those things, underlying cause, and then I want to spend a good bulk of the time really talking about action and steps that you guys can do in your own lives, okay? But I think that the more that you guys actually understand heart disease, cholesterol problems, the more like you actually like get a firm grasp on it, the better you're going to be able to take care of yourself and the less afraid you're going to be. When, like if you're my patients, for example, we all have a good grasp on our health, and then we go get a screen once a year to get our insurance renewed or something like that, and someone tells us our cholesterol is 3 points too high, and we freak out. And they might as well have said the C word to us. We're going to use from now on, okay, you guys? So we're going to go over all that stuff. First and foremost, heart disease is and has been for the last 27 years in the U.S. the #1 leading cause of death. Last year from the CDC, almost 1 million people died from heart disease. And most of those problems are actually preventable, okay? That's a big issue that I see. We're going to talk, for starters, about the underlying causes of it. But the issue with it is you can't just not change your lifestyle and take medications. People with high blood pressure who take blood pressure medications don't have a big change in all-cause mortality. Meaning, like, you're just as likely to die if you have regulated blood pressure via medication versus having high blood pressure that's untreated in most cases, okay? If you're taking a statin to actually prevent having a heart attack or things like that, you've never had heart disease before, you're actually at a higher risk to develop diabetes from that drug than you are to actually have a net benefit from reducing your risk of a heart attack, okay? And you guys, for the most part, can kind of listen in. Everything I'm saying, this is why we didn't put this off for you guys. I have like a 15-page note packet for you guys that has all of this research that I'm going over. So I've had patients always ask me, like, where'd you read that? I have a friend who wants it. I cited everything for you guys with hyperlinks. So you guys can just click on it, read more, educate yourselves. So for now, you guys don't have to like try to memorize all of these numbers or anything like that. We're recording it as well, so we'll put the recording up in a couple days as well. So for the most part, I want you guys to kind of sit back, enjoy, and kind of like try to suck in as much of this as possible, okay? Let's go with starters, because a lot of people don't actually understand what actually causes high blood pressure. People don't understand what having high cholesterol actually means inside of the body. And so what I want to start with you guys is talking about the actual underlying cause of heart disease, okay? What does blood flow through in our body? Anyone know? What does it flow through? Blood what? Blood vessels. So we have arteries, we have veins, we have all of those things. So basically inside of our body, and I'm not a very good artist, but inside of our body we have arteries, okay? So when someone has when someone has problems with blood pressure, what do you think, do you guys, anyone know what happens to their arteries over time? They restrict, they harden, they fill with plaque, thank you. All those things happen, okay? So there's a lot of like underlying causes. There's a lot of underlying causes to what actually happens, but one of the biggest problems that we know that occurs when we have heart disease is we have, we'll go through them all, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, we have something called atherosclerosis, we have heart failure, all of these things, okay? So, but the underlying issue, what happens whenever we have heart disease is this. Throughout our daily life, our blood vessels are designed to move along with us, right? Bend, twist, turn, move, okay? So the very first thing we'll talk about is hardening of the arteries. Over time, our arteries are made to expand and contract, okay? So if a bear walked in this room right now, all of our arteries would expand very rapidly, okay? Has anyone ever heard of fight or flight before? Hopefully you guys run along with me. There's a back exit, by the way. Fire marshal wanted me to tell you
The last one
guys.
is the one that's in trouble.
Yeah, the last time we released a bear in here, which was our last seminar, people really freaked out. It didn't go this way, so that's fight or flight syndrome, okay? Whenever you have fight or flight, all of your blood vessels and arteries expand, okay? Whenever you guys go home to bed at night and you sleep and you rest, most of your arteries, especially the ones that go out to your muscles in your body, they contract, okay? Here's why I'm adamant, by the way, about not stressing out over things that are probably not gonna hurt you, is stressing out over things that you can't control or may not hurt you actually cause very real and measurable disease process inside of your body. You know what I mean? So stress does not, like, help us at all. Chronic stress really, really hurts our body, okay? So what we know, one of the biggest underlying causes of cardiovascular disease is whenever our blood vessels expand and contract and expand and contract. Whenever that happens, it requires a lot of minerals to do that and nutrients. Whenever our blood vessels expand and dilate, it requires arginine, it requires magnesium to come back down, it requires calcium to expand, it requires collagen for those blood vessels to remain elastic. And what we know is one of the biggest underlying causes of cardiovascular disease is that our blood vessels over time lose the ability to contract and dilate, and contract and dilate, okay? Some of it's due to chronic stress, some of it's due to long-term blood pressure problems that are causing your arteries to harden more and more and more. Some of it is caused by nutrient deficiencies. We're gonna go through a lot of those things tonight, okay? But what all of us are taught to fear is the other C word, is cholesterol, right? Does anyone think cholesterol is like the best thing in the world? I will tell you guys right now, it's the best thing in the world, okay? I will show you guys some stats on here too. I'll show you some charts that show that people die more often with low cholesterol than high cholesterol. So, I know, right? Crazy. So we're gonna go through a couple of those things, okay? Heart disease cause of death, I'm gonna kind of catch up here. All right. So we'll start with this. So I do these seminars a lot for my patients, and want to give you guys one of the success stories just recently happened. This is Linda, who couldn't be here tonight, but she started with our program. This is like in April of 2019. Started getting adjustments. She had really high blood pressure, weighed 268 pounds, had really, really bad low back pain, bad stenosis in her spine. She came to this talk last year that we did, and after that she started taking the right supplements, exercising properly, getting adjusted to help her blood pressure, to help her body move better. I showed this picture last time too. This is her updated picture. She's lost more than 42 pounds. She is completely 100% off of her blood pressure medications. In fact, she's not taking any medications at all anymore, okay? The things we'll go through today really, really work, but they only work if you do, okay? So hopefully this isn't a thing where you guys come here and get all hyped up. It's for you guys to actually engage over the next 2 to 3 to 4 to 6 months to a year to the rest of your life and actually working on those things. This isn't meant to be a one-off workshop. This isn't meant to be a conversation starter for you guys and myself, Dr. Marissa, Dr. Matt, the other doctors here, Tristan, who's our health coach as well, to start really working on implementing these things in your life, okay? So again, we're talking blood pressure problems and cholesterol issues. I will tell you guys right now, cholesterol is the #1 best thing for you in the world. I'm gonna go through why. But here's the problem. Here's what we're taught, right? So we stress out, and then what happens to the walls of our arteries? What's all this stuff that kind of starts forming in here? Plaques, right? Okay. So what are plaques made out of? Cholesterol. Totally right. Plaques made out of cholesterol, okay? And everyone looks at this and says, cholesterol is the problem, okay? The reality is your body makes roughly 3,000 milligrams of cholesterol per day. It's a lot. Your liver makes about 2,000, other organs in your body make about 1,000. We know that if you don't eat a lot of cholesterol, your body's gonna make more. If you eat a lot of cholesterol, your body's not gonna make quite as much. Your body's constantly making cholesterol. One of the things that I stand pretty firmly on is I don't think our body does things to intentionally injure or harm us, okay? You guys agree with me on that? I can't think of anything at all that our body does that intentionally harms us. What I will tell you guys though is that your body is always trying to adapt. Your body is always trying to work to keep you around. There's no way we would have made it this far, evolutionarily speaking, if our body was not really good at adapting to different stressors or problems, okay? What I can tell you guys is if you look at cholesterol in this manner, and you think about cholesterol breaking off and causing a heart attack, I look at it as a bad thing. but there's a reason that cholesterol got laid down there in the first place. Does anyone know why? Why does cholesterol lay down inside of your arteries? There's what? There's a nick in the vessels. Yes. So cholesterol is very important for wound healing. And what we know is that when your arteries and blood vessels expand and contract, and you don't have elasticity within your blood vessels, you don't have collagen, you're lacking vitamin C, you're lacking B vitamins to keep your inflammation down. Your arteries start to form micro cracks, micro traumas in them, okay? So if you didn't have cholesterol in your arteries, you would have bled out, okay? Your body's never doing things to injure you, it's always doing things for your good. So let's not talk about how cholesterol is the issue, let's talk about fixing the underlying cause of that in the first place. That make sense? Okay? Cholesterol is not really the big issue, in all honesty. Here's the chart. Told you guys this will be in your note packet. These are relative cholesterol levels and death from all causes. Okay? These are the charts that your doctors don't want you to see. Oh, kind of got cut off, I'm sorry, but you can see this side of it. That one's almost the same. Generally speaking, your reference ranges with cholesterol get lower as you, or your risk for death gets lower as your cholesterol levels go up, okay? And we'll talk about why. So what does cholesterol do? Cholesterol is a wound healing compound inside of your body. Whenever you're injured or have damage inside of your body, cholesterol goes in there and actually cleans it up, okay? So there's two parts of cholesterol that we're gonna talk about, at least for today. There's good, quote unquote, and there's bad, quote unquote. Who knows the name of the good cholesterol? Anyone know? HDL, right? And then the bad cholesterol is what? LDL, right? Okay. So that's the last time you guys are allowed to say good and bad, by the way. I just did that so you guys know it. They call H like heavenly or healthy, and they call L like lowly. What? Lousy. Yeah, the lousy cholesterols. What I will tell you guys is that HDL and LDL are both necessary. HDL takes things away from damaged areas inside of your arteries or wounds. So whenever your body's done laying down cholesterol, HDL comes in and takes them away. We say LDL is bad because LDL is the one that put it there in the first place. Okay? And so we say, oh, if we could just lower, this type of cholesterol, then your body wouldn't have anything to put in that area. But if you have a wound inside of your body and you have nothing to heal it with, what are you going to do?
Bleed out.
Bleed out. You know what I mean? I'm being honest. You're going to have a lowered capacity for wound healing. And that's not only what cholesterol does. Cholesterol makes up a big percentage of your brain tissue. It's important for neurological signaling and all of these things. Okay? In fact, the most recent research that we've seen on statin medications is that statin medications don't actually help you long term. They help for the first few years. A statin medication actually mimics a cholesterol molecule. It basically, a cholesterol molecule is just a carrier. It just carries something there. And so what a statin does is it's almost like someone walking, and instead of having like a present with a gift in it, which would be a Band-Aid, if you can think about it this way, the statin medicine is like someone walking with a present that's empty. It actually reduces inflammation because your body feels like it's going to be getting some actual wound healing, and then it never comes. So they showed in the short term it actually helps, but in the long term it actually makes people worse. It raises risk for dementia, it raises risk for diabetes. It's a mimicking compound inside of the body, okay? New research has shown, and this is on the number needed to treat, that if you have no prior history of heart disease, have not had a heart attack, it is not as effective to take a statin. We know that if you've had a heart attack, there's some research that shows that it can actually prevent a second or a third or a fourth consecutive heart attack, but if you've never had one, most research shows that you should not be taking one in the first place. And that's from a website called the nnt.com. So I'm not a cardiologist, but the cardiologists I talk to, they all talk about that stuff as well, okay? Yes?
I have very low HDL.
Okay.
And I keep asking my doctor, how do I get that raised?
Okay.
Instead of lowering the other one. Is that
Yeah.
something you're going to
Talk about? Absolutely, absolutely. But what we'll talk about in general too is are those things actually really important? Okay? Because here's the thing, okay? So let's go through it and just kind of talk about that for a second, okay? Right here, bottom research study, high LDL is inversely associated with mortality in most people over 60 years, from the British Medical Journal in 2016, okay? So I wanna put our focus on the things that are actually the most important, okay? But I will talk about that. I'll talk about how to balance cholesterol, because in your body, really everything's about balance. Whenever we start tricking and artificially trying to like raise one and lower the other, that's I think where we get in trouble. Let's just work on focusing on getting you guys healthier. Sound like a good idea? You know what I mean? But those are the questions that we always ask at first. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would not say let's just try to lower your LDL and raise your HDL. Let's just get you healthier overall. okay, by reducing all-cause inflammation, okay? Here's a couple of the other things, by the way, because this is my favorite time to talk about cholesterol. I don't get any chance to talk about it other than now, because I'll spend a half an hour talking about all of my issues with cholesterol. That's the big one. That's the huge one that drives me crazy. The one above it, low cholesterol is associated with higher mortality from cardiovascular diseases. So when you try to lower your cholesterol too much, it makes you die more often. I showed the chart about it a second ago. Most people who have heart attacks, they actually fall within the recommended targets for LDL cholesterol. Crazy, right? This was a big study too, because we talk about not eating cholesterol-containing foods. 347,000 people, 5 to 23 years, they found no significant evidence that the actual type of food you ate, the saturated fat in foods, that it increased your risk of dying from heart disease, okay? So I said, like, eating foods that contain cholesterol, which a lot of people were worried about. You guys have been around for the last 30 years. How many times have eggs been good and then bad? You know what I mean? Anyone know Lewis Black, the comedian? Anyone? Oh my gosh. So he did this bit on eggs, and he's like, just tell me what to eat. He's like, they're good. So I ate a lot of them, and then they were bad, so I didn't eat any. And then they said they were good again. They said, well, I got to catch up because I didn't eat any for 5 years, so I ate twice the eggs. Then they said, no, they're really bad. And he's like, well, now I'm really screwed. Like, I ate double for the last 5 years. I don't even know what to do anymore. They're good, by the way, and the right kind, and we'll talk about that again as well. Okay? So we've talked about the plaquing of the arteries. This is one of the things that we think cholesterol causes, but what we know is that it's not cholesterol that causes the problem, okay? The big culprit of anything that goes on inside of your body, the biggest thing that you have to regulate if you want to keep your heart healthy long term, is inflammation, okay? That is the one word answer for keeping yourself healthy, especially from a cardiovascular perspective, long term. If you control inflammation, this stuff doesn't happen in the first place, okay? Because the inflammation is what caused the cracks in the arteries, caused the cholesterol to put in that position in the first place. It's the oxidation of this cholesterol inside of your arteriovascular system that causes the problem, okay? The second thing is that your body actually needs oxidized cholesterol to actually help your heart and your brain work. And the interesting thing is most of the times when they see people have heart attacks, the question we ask for the longest time, let's say this is your heart right here. That's a terrible picture of a heart. Closer than the other drawing, okay? And you have all these arteries going into it. Most of the times when people have plaquing in their arteries, guess where they have them? Their coronary artery, these arteries. Your heart actually needs cholesterol to function properly. It's for a wound healing mechanism, okay? Same thing with your brain. Your brain actually needs cholesterol to function. So the reason there's so much cholesterol around these areas, there's a lot of streaks here and maybe not so much down here in your leg, is because these parts of your body actually need cholesterol. And guess how we move cholesterol? We move it in the blood, okay? This is some crazy stuff right now. Does anyone know where cholesterol should be oxidized instead of your arteries? What organ is actually responsible where cholesterol should be oxidized? It's your skin. When you have sun exposure to your skin, that's where cholesterol should be oxidized and made bioavailable to be used by the rest of your body. Guess who gets enough sun exposure? None of you guys. I'm just joking. Look at me. I'm translucent. I mean, I get it. Like, but that's some of the issues that we deal with. You know what I mean? Is we're too inflamed. Generally speaking, we're not living the 5 essentials which we teach, which is we're not living with a healthy mindset. No matter what time I turn on the news, it's always stresses me out. I don't care what it is. That's why I have a problem with what's going on right now, is because the only job of media sometimes is to get more viewers, is to get more clicks, is to get more attention. You know what I mean? I've never turned it on to like, it's a sunny day, go outside and enjoy it and turn us off. It's like, tune in next, you know what I mean? Because your refrigerator is killing you. Dun, dun, dun. Everything is stress, so we're not living a healthy maximized mindset. There's deficiency that causes inflammation. We're not eating the right foods. You know what I mean? Our nutrition's terrible. We're not moving well. We'll talk about chiropractic and alignment a little bit today. A lot of you guys are patients, so you know some of the research on it, but I'm going to talk about how chiropractic care has been shown to help balance blood pressure, increase heart rate variability, help people have better posture. Poor posture is one of the biggest all-cause predictors of mortality, which is why I hammer you guys when you're on your cell phone out here, like warming up for your adjustments, but you're doing this in the chair, like trying to move your spine, and I'm like, come on. It's the one spot where I want you guys to be working on your posture, you're doing it here. We don't exercise enough, which we'll talk about, and we're overly toxic, which is one of the other big causes of inflammation. Okay? So that's cholesterol in a nutshell. We're going to go over how to balance cholesterol. And really atherosclerosis, these two kind of go hand in hand. High cholesterol levels we believed caused atherosclerosis. Really it's oxidized cholesterol levels. Okay? Let's talk about blood pressure problems. Okay? High blood pressure, I don't know where it is. My notes are all over the place. It's more what I'm saying in this packet that you guys are gonna get that's really everything. High blood pressure is caused also in part by these things. So if your blood vessels are supposed to expand and contract and expand and contract, and there's a bunch of cholesterol sitting in there, there's less volume for blood to flow through, right? Does that make sense why your blood pressure would be high? Okay. So when you have that stoppage through there, do you think your heart has to work harder? Oh my gosh, absolutely. And when your heart has to work harder, what happens to your cardiac muscles? They get fatigued and they get thicker. And so basically your heart adapts. Your heart has to get stronger so the muscles get thicker. But the problem is they don't have the ability, like a thicker muscle is less flexible. So your heart literally doesn't have the ability to expand all the way to allow enough blood in or to force or excrete it out. It's stronger, but it's not necessarily more effective there. So when you talk about long-term high blood pressure, you're talking about heart failure, which is like left ventricle failure, which is the big muscle that pumps blood to your entire body. First step is your blood vessels can't expand and contract anymore, okay? You have nutritional deficiencies, you're chronically stressed, you have oxidized cholesterol in your body, you have chronically low vitamin D levels. The next step is your blood pressure gets high, right? It gets raised from a lot of different causes, these causes as well. Stress alone can cause your blood pressure to get raised up right now. So if a bear walked into the room, all of our blood pressure would shoot up to 150 over 100. I take care of so many patients who come in with high blood pressure, and they were given a medication because they have what's called white coat syndrome. They walked into, does anyone love going to the doctor?
No, but I have white coat syndrome.
My dentist is about to drill into a tooth of mine. He's like, let me take a blood pressure real quick just to check it. And I was like, it's gonna be high. He takes it, he's like, geez, it's high. I'm like, well, you're about to, you know what I mean? Painfully remove a tooth or something. I don't know what you're gonna do in there. It's gonna be high, I'm stressed out. Well, that's the problem is our blood pressure can go up and down, but a lot of times we're stressed a lot and it's chronically raised through that area. We know that just artificially manipulating your blood pressure does not necessarily make you any less at risk for dying. It may help prevent a heart attack, but it's not reducing your risk for dying at all. So it's not just about masking the cause of it and taking blood pressure medication. We want to remove that cause in the first place. Okay, if there's a bear in the room, we don't just take a Xanax and chill out. We remove the bear. Okay, or what? We call Jack Hanna, exactly. Actually, he's really close. Yeah, that would be good. It's probably his, in all honesty, if we're talking about it. Okay. So are you guys with me so far on underlying causes? Does that make more sense? Does it help you guys at least a little bit? These aren't like magical causes going on in the body. It's all physiology over time. If you're stressing the body, it's gonna adapt, okay? No different than with cancer. We know that cancer is an adaptive mechanism to chronic stress inside of the body. The same thing happens with heart disease. Your body's trying to adapt to help you, but it's sacrificing function for stress. You know what I mean? If you're doing this too much through here, okay? Okay. So let's go over just some of the action steps we can start taking to really get rid of it. These are the things that I'm excited about, okay? We'll come back to testing in a minute. We'll do testing before we leave. We started working with the lab, so a lot of times I tell you guys tests, and then the hard part is you guys go back to your doctors, and then your doctors say, you don't need those tests, just keep taking the medication. Then you guys come back to me and say that, and then I get in this fight. So we just started working with a lab that'll order all the tests for you guys and do it really, really cheap. So I'm excited about that, okay? So first things first, we'll talk about the importance of getting adjusted, and not just getting adjusted, but what the effects of being adjusted do for you long term, okay? My goal for people is not to simply adjust you. My goal is that the effect of adjustment is what actually helps your life. So the effect of adjusting you is that we help your spine hold a better alignment. Yes? True? So it's not that I want to adjust you all the time, it's that I want your spine to actually hold a great postural alignment, okay? The problem is, from all the stress that we have in our life, everything that we do right now is putting us into what position? Fetal. Slumped. Cell phones, texting, driving, all those things kind of force us into a bad alignment. And we know this. We know that when your neck shifts out of alignment, abnormal changes in the alignment of your neck, if you have problems in your neck that can, for example, problems in the upper part of your neck can cause blood pressure problems, headaches, migraines, middle part of your neck can cause thyroid damage, lower part of your neck through here can cause numbness, tingling in your fingers, heart problems, lung issues. We know that if we just looked at your spine, and I could see where your spine has arthritis, I can correctly predict where you have disease 79% of the time. It's a very high predictor for it. So we know that there's this huge correlation between how your spine's positioned and how well your body can function. I don't want to adjust you so that you can quote unquote be adjusted. I want to adjust you so that you can be aligned. Because we know that the better aligned your body is, the harder you are to kill. Fair enough? okay? Here's, just since we're talking about blood pressure in the heart, and I have all the studies in here, there's 6 different specific ways that us adjusting you and keeping your spine in a healthy alignment actually improves your cardiovascular function. The University of Chicago, their School of Medicine, showed that if your neck is out of alignment, especially this top bone in your neck, it's one of the biggest indicators, or one of the biggest implicators for causing high blood pressure. On average, it can raise your blood pressure between 10 to 18 points. Just that one misalignment alone. So it's like, my frustrating part is I take care of someone who eats a clean diet, they exercise all the time, but they fell on their head jumping into a shallow pool 10 years ago and shifted this bone in their neck. And since then, they've been seeing a cardiologist and specialists and taking statin medications, blood pressure medications, all those things when no one actually fixed that cause. It happens all the time. That's one of the things that drives me crazy. Number 2, when we adjust you, we know that when you have poor posture, everyone do this for a second so you guys are following me. Try to take a deep breath in. Feel the strain through there? We know that when your posture's in a better alignment, it improves your lung function by as much as 30%. So if you have poor posture all day long, you don't get enough oxygen in your body. What is oxygen important for? I'm glad. The answers I think you guys are going to give me, so that's good. It's important for everything. People without oxygen in their body, do you know what grows in an oxygen-poor environment? Nothing. You know what I mean? Hardly anything, not you. It creates an environment for cancer, oxidative stress. You need oxygen to function. Also, whenever we adjust people, we know that right after an adjustment, it decreases their blood markers for inflammation. So the actual enzymes that we're looking for that can cause inflammation in the body, we know lower after receiving a chiropractic adjustment. One of the big things long term, we're going to talk about this with exercise. There's only 2 ways that we know of to increase what's called your heart rate variability. Has anyone heard that term before? Heart rate variability is how high and how fast your heart can beat versus how low it can beat. We want your heart to keep the widest range possible for as long as possible. Why? That means you can adapt to more stuff. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep using the bear analogy. If a bear walks in right now, I want your blood pressure to get as high as possible to deliver as much blood to your muscles as possible, because you don't have to run faster than the bear, but you have to be close to the people in the room, right? Yeah. So you want that. That means your body can adapt and you can stay alive longer than other people. No offense to the other people in the room. But that's what we want. We also want your blood pressure to be low, your pulse rate to be very low. We know that exercise causes your body to adapt to those stresses. We know that getting adjusted, keeping your spine moving well, helps to increase not only for your body's capability to have a higher maximum blood pressure and heart rate, but also a lower bottom. We want you to be able to be the high of highs and the low of lows. When you're sleeping, we want your blood pressure and your pulse to be very low. When you're exercising, we want it to be high. Does it make sense? So this increases that along with exercise. It decreases, I already said that, so there's 5 I missed one, I apologize. It also reduces pain, which lowers blood pressure overall. So when you have less pain, your blood pressure is lower. If I walked around with a needle and I poked all of you guys, your blood pressure would go up right now.
You said heart rate. So my blood pressure is actually really, really good, but I have a very high pulse. What's the nobody's ever been able to explain what the correlation, why
your pulse is high?
Yeah.
There's something that's going on there that's causing it to be high. You could have an arrhythmia, there's a lot of things. So
but they don't ever seem to be concerned about it.
I'll talk to you. Okay, because I can't go through it now. Because I have like 3 hours of material in one. So if you guys are guests and you've never had your spine checked before, I recommend you get checked. The girls at the front will schedule you for a time if you want to start working with us. I'm very open about talking about that. We're going to do a special rate for you guys too, which I'll talk about at the end through there as well. Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about nutrition. What are the foods that we need to eat to work on making our heart function better? Okay. Avocados. Okay. Whole wheats. Nuts. Low carb. Leafy greens. Okay. Yep. Okay. I'll give you guys 2 of the best ones. You guys ready? Cruciferous vegetables, sulfur-containing foods are one of the #1 things you should consume a lot of. The research has shown reduces your risk for heart disease. Those are things like Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, Swiss chard, all those fun cruciferous deep vegetables. Cruciferous is a term. But what we know is that whenever the better your cholesterol can work inside of your body, the healthier you're going to be overall. So there's research right now coming out of MIT, and this is the stuff that frustrates me sometimes. When I'm like preparing these talks, the most frustrated thing that I get with is for you guys, not just for you guys because you guys are here, but really for everyone else who's not right here. I can't tell you guys how difficult it is to find the right information on what to do. It is so frustrating to me. Whenever I type in online like steps for reversing heart disease, I get WebMD, which talks, some of you guys said, it says eat a low-fat diet with a ton of grains, avoid animal proteins and fats. It does say eat vegetables, which is really good, but it doesn't specify which type of ones, and most people pick higher glycemic index foods. It talks nothing about glycemic capacity or anything like that. So the most important things you need right here, if I could give you guys 2 things to eat, it would be high sulfur containing foods, which are mostly your cruciferous vegetables, and cholesterol from animal meats are the 2 things. I know, right? It's crazy. Eggs, red meats.
Bacon.
No. Free range or free range chicken, wild caught fish. The things that we want to do in your body is, so here's the thing. So without cholesterol, without sulfur, your body cannot create bioactive cholesterol. So it's not actually creating enough cholesterol. Your brain needs cholesterol to function. You need cholesterol to heal. Without it, you're just killing yourself. And so you need those things. Then we can talk about what to do to actually decrease inflammation, but you have to have those 2 things in there, okay? So the diet for decreasing inflammation is really, who was here at the New Beginnings workshop? I mean, it was that diet in a nutshell. Has anyone ever heard of our advanced plan? Have you guys opened the book yet?
We're doing it.
We're doing it right now? Cool, I like it. The advanced plan is the best diet you can do. It's a low inflammatory diet. So what does a low inflammatory diet mean? It means making sure that your body has the exact amount of nutrients it needs and not too much of one and not enough of another, okay? The biggest thing that's gonna cause inflammation, hey, when do you guys throw me an eraser by chance? Or toilet paper? Are we out? Oh, we're out.
No.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
I got it. Never mind, I got it. Got my toilet paper joke in. It's a good day. Okay, so nutrition. You guys have heard of omega-3 fats, right?
Yep.
What's the other fat that we need to talk about? If we're not going to talk about omega-3s. Omega-6s, and you have 9s as well, but for the sake of this conversation, we're just going to eliminate 9s, okay? You need some 9s. Yeah, so we need a balance of these. The number one most important thing that you need to have in your diet is fat, okay? We can have some sugar. As long as you're active, your body can burn off some sugar. But most people tend to not get enough healthy fat, which is needed to create every single one of your cells. The problem is this, is that whenever we have fats, most of us, we have them in an imbalanced ratio. And I'll explain what I mean by that. If you eat grass-fed beef, you're getting good, healthy, balanced fats. If you're eating a piece of grain-fed beef, for example, you're getting very inflammatory fats. We all know that beef has fat in it, right? Okay? Normally speaking, in your diet, for every 2 grams of omega-6 fats that you get, you need roughly 1 gram of omega-3 fatty acids, okay? Here's the problem. Here's the problem in our society right now, is that if you're eating grain, for example, you're getting roughly 20 to 50 to 1, okay? If you're eating conventionally raised meat, for example, anywhere from 17 to 20 to 1, okay? We are extremely inflamed. We have too many omega-6 fatty acids inside of our body, and nowhere near enough omega-3 fats inside of our body, okay? So what should we spend most of our time eating if we want to be really healthy with low inflammation? Really, really healthy forms of fat, okay? I'm okay with you guys eating animals. They just have to come from clean sources, okay? So we want grass-fed meat, wild-caught fish, which has tons of omega-3 fatty acids in it, free-range chicken, all the healthy stuff, okay? We want you guys to avoid grains as much as possible, okay? Grains increase inflammation. You guys okay with that? Okay? Grains will not only increase inflammation, but also with grains, you kind of get a 2-punch whammy because you also get gluten in there, which isn't like the worst thing for everyone. There are some people who are more sensitive to gluten than others, but if you have a really, really bad diet and a really unhealthy gut, gluten is going to make it even worse, okay? Inside of your gut, we have a lining where you digest and break down food. And what gluten does is it'll actually increase the spacing between the actual molecular bonds inside of your gut. So if you have like a really, really healthy gut, and you eat some grains sometimes not have problems with it, yeah. But if you have a really bad gut, anyone heard the term like leaky gut before? Which happens when we take excessive antibiotics and have chronic stress and not good food. Gluten is gonna make those gaps bigger. So essentially more food gets out into your body and causes issues. Not for everyone, but if you have inflammation, if you have chronic stress through here, and then you add in a high carbohydrate, high grain diet, and you stress all the time, you have no chance.
That would go with milks and butters too, for
Absolutely.
grain-fed versus wheat for grass-fed.
Absolutely. Yep. Whatever you're eating also matters too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you're eating, milk from the cow, yeah. If you're gonna eat grain-fed milk, you might as well just skip the middleman, just pour cereal right in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what you're getting. Yeah, because you're just getting all of those grains. Okay. Also, when I talk about this, you don't have to avoid saturated fat. We talked earlier about it. That there's a 750,000 person study. A lot of times we get kind of cornered into this thing where we're like, I know I want to eat healthy, I know I want to reduce inflammation, but I can't eat fat. You know what I mean? Especially saturated fat. Saturated fat is fat that is essentially speaking solid at room temperature. It has nothing to do with the health qualities of the actual fat. Grass-fed butter is solid at room temperature. You know what I mean? And it's actually a healthy fat for you. Grass-fed animal fat is solid at room temperature. It has nothing to do with whether it's healthy or not for you. The old theory on it was that saturated fat clogged your arteries.
What about fatty liver?
It's great for you. It contains a lot of cholesterol, which your body actually needs. You know what I mean? That's one of the big problems that we see in people with very low cholesterol, especially like vegetarian diets, is when they don't get a lot of cholesterol, it causes a lot of problems with cognition, a lot of problems with brain issues. That's why statins long-term cause dementia. They also increase your risk of diabetes because they mess with your pancreas. So there's a lot of issues with it. The problem is this, is if you think saturated fat is bad because it's solid at room temperature, if any of us find ourselves walking around with our temperature at 72 degrees, you get it? You're not here anymore. You know what I mean? No one's 72 degrees. You guys are warm. You guys are, blood's flowing through you guys. Saturated fat is not the enemy. What is a saturated fat that's actually good? We said we're talking about butter, animal fats, coconut oil.
Avocado oil.
Is considered saturated fat. That's an unsaturated fat. But things that are solid at room temperature, you know what I mean? Those things are actually still good for you and have a lot of great heart benefits. Okay? You got to reduce the inflammation by cutting the excessive sugar. Okay? If you want to reverse heart disease inflammation really quickly, as long as you can, I think the ketogenic diet is one of the best ways that you can do that. If nothing else, just get really low on your carbohydrates, especially your spare sugars that your body doesn't need. Force your body to start adapting. Force your body to start burning fat. Force your body to start getting into an anti-inflammatory state so it can be healthier longer, okay? The other thing that stresses your heart when it comes to nutrition is whenever you do eat lots of carbs for a long time, or you gain weight because of stress. Anytime that you gain weight, your body has to vascularize that area, essentially. No part of your body cannot be connected to the system. Make sense? Or they can all be connected. If it's not connected, they call that cancer, essentially. That's cancer. It's a part of your body that's doing whatever it wants to and not going by your body's rules. You definitely don't want that there. So let's say you have an extra 5 pounds of fat. Your body has to add blood vessels and vasculature to that area. So we know that that causes more stress on your heart. So you want to get your heart healthy really quickly, get all that excess fat, all that excess body weight off, and one of the fastest ways to do it is by increasing fats, decreasing sugars, and forcing your body to no longer burn sugar for energy, but force it to become a fat burner, okay? You do that by not eating sugar anymore. Sorry, not news bears. So ideally speaking, if you want like a heart healthy ketogenic based diet, you want your fats to be anywhere from 50 to 75% of your intake, 50 at a minimum. Ideally speaking, you want your sugars to be below 10% of whatever you intake, and the rest of that becomes protein, anywhere from 20 to 30%. Protein.
And that's for men and women?
Yeah, same ratio. We've probably taken a couple hundred people through the coaching protocol. I can tell you guys, sorry, women, guys respond a lot faster. I don't know why. So I was like, we'll do spouses, couples, and like mom's frustrated, she's like, I've lost 3 pounds, and the husband's like, I'm done, lost 20 pounds. I'm like, your wife's gonna kill you. Go eat a hamburger real quick and like struggle, limp a little bit, you know what I mean? I don't know why, but a lot of times that ends up happening inside of our bodies. Not for everyone, but a lot of times I see that happening. Okay. Let's talk about some of the supplements, like the major deficiencies when it comes to heart health. This is gonna kind of tie into our testing as well. Coming on in? Gotcha. Welcome. You're here. It's a good excuse. So, let's talk about supplement deficiencies. Some of the big things that you need if you want to keep your heart healthy are, thankfully, these on the screen, okay? B vitamins, okay? B vitamins are extremely important for your body to lower something inside of it called homocysteine, okay? Homocysteine, when it builds up inside of your body, vitamin D is what deactivates it. Homocysteine is kind of like a toxic compound inside of your body. So B vitamins are what actually downregulate that, turn it into something that's not quite as bad for you. If you have very high homocysteine levels, it's one of the biggest indicators for not only inflammation, but for heart disease, okay? B vitamin deficiency, C vitamin deficiency, D vitamin deficiencies are becoming more common, especially when we're stressed. We burn up a lot of B vitamins. Vitamin C deficiency. Vitamin C is a precursor for something called collagen. Collagen is what gives your skin and everything in your body elasticity, okay? So when we talked about blood vessel health, one of the biggest deficiencies that causes blood pressure problems, especially blood vascular problems, is the deficiency in vitamin C, okay? The big problem with that is a lot of us, probably if we eat fruits and vegetables, we think we get enough from it. The big concern that we see is that we now produce crops that have much less nutrients than they did 20 or 30 years ago, okay? Even the cruciferous vegetables I was talking about, they don't contain as much sulfur. Oranges now, we're finding conventional oranges contain anywhere from 30 to 0% of the vitamin C that they contained about 30 years ago. So some oranges right now, they're testing and they have no vitamin C at all. They look like an orange, they smell like an orange. They have almost no vitamin C in them, or none at all. That is my big argument for getting vegetables and fruits organic. They've been shown to have higher nutrient density. It's not just about making you pay more, they have less toxins in them and they have higher nutrient scores, okay? So whenever possible, you wanna add those in as much as you can. And if you're in places that are out of season, you might wanna add some supplements to it. Vitamin D is one of the big ones for long-term heart health, okay? If you're taking vitamin C, you wanna take anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams a day. And all of this for you guys is written down in here. Okay, you guys gonna like a text message, I think. It gives you like an online link to this too, so, okay. Vitamin D. So what does vitamin D do to cholesterol? You remember? It activates it. It oxidizes it and activates it, okay? The best way to get vitamin D is to stand outside when the sun is out and not be afraid, okay? More people are gonna die from not getting sun exposure from getting sun exposure. It's one of the biggest things that's like absolutely driven me crazy is how fearful we are of the sun, or if you're not, how much we're taught to be fearful of the sun. But more people die from vitamin D deficiency from over sun exposure, okay? You have a better chance of having cancer from too much sun exposure than from not enough sun exposure than too much, okay?
Does putting sunscreen on deter from getting the vitamin D from it?
I believe it does. I've been constantly looking for that. There's differing sources, but I believe it does. Yeah, that was one of the questions I had in making this, and I got mixed reviews, but I believe it does. Yes. Okay.
My understanding is you need to have the UVB and the UVA rays, or, yeah.
Both.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it blocks.
Yeah, and it blocks majority of
Yeah.
all of it, so, like, short term, it's good to have, you need that exposure, but if you're gonna be out there longer than, you know, depending on how hot it is, or what the elevation of the sun is, then, you know, then protect afterwards. There's a great app that I use, it's called D-Minder. It actually, you can download it and it'll locate you wherever you are in the world, and it'll let you know when, like, your optimal time is for getting outside vitamin D, and you can actually set in a program, okay, this is my skin type, this is my age, this is how much I supplement with vitamin D, this is what my vitamin D levels are, I can either have the blood test done, and it'll tell you, like, a little timer will go off, like, I've got like 60% of my body or my skin exposed, and then it'll literally like set a timer, like how long you should be out there, and it'll give you like this burn warning. So after, let's say if it's 30 minutes, because it's all gonna depend on where you are in the world and where the sun is in elevation to the equator, or to where you are. once it reaches, like, we can't make vitamin D until it's over, I think it's 40 degrees, where the sun hits the earth at 40 degrees or greater. So most of the winter time, it doesn't really get above that very much. And then you have to have a certain amount exposed for a certain length of time. If it's overcast, that's obviously gonna affect it as well. So it's a really great way, especially if you're traveling and on vacation, to know, hey, I've been out here a long time, let's cover up, or let's put, you know, the protection on afterwards, so that way you minimize your chances of burning. Because it's the burning really that's the bad part. It's not the exposure to the sun and UVB, but it's the burning part. But it's D-Minder, like M-I-N-D-E-R. So it's a really great app. It's a free app you can download on your phone. But I highly recommend that. Sorry.
Thank you. No, you're not. That's right.
Conversation.
No, it's all good. Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, you need D, absolutely. Okay. The next one. So with vitamin D, it should be 1,000 IU's per 25 pounds of lean body mass. So if you have 125 pounds of lean body mass, which is your weight minus your body fat percentage, you need 5,000 IU's a day. It's like an easy way to look at it, okay? And vitamin D, if you want to really absorb vitamin D, you got to make sure that you have healthy probiotics. You need to make sure that you have vitamin K as well, which is going to come a lot from vegetables to help make it more active for you, okay? Next one on here, magnesium. Who have I talked to about magnesium? To take magnesium, okay? So magnesium helps to relax your body, okay? So everyone make a muscle with their biceps right now. Squeeze, yeah. So in it, yeah, show them off. You should stand up in a minute. So whenever you guys flex your muscles, calcium is what's actually driven into the muscle belly to cause a contraction inside of the muscle. In order for your muscles to relax and unwind, magnesium actually deactivates those tight filaments inside of your muscles, okay? So we know that whenever you have, you know, chronic cramping, if your blood vessels won't expand and contract, that you're likely deficient in magnesium. If you have chronic muscle strain, if you stress a lot, your body's gonna chew and burn through magnesium, okay? So you wanna make sure that you take lots of magnesium to help relax the arteries and vessel walls inside of your body, relax your muscles, and help you just get to a better state overall, okay? We don't talk about magnesium as much in the US. One of the things that we're scared about, I think, more than the C word, a lot of times is having bone density problems, especially as we age. And so we constantly see commercials bombarding us to say, make sure you take your calcium, right? Take calcium today, take calcium tomorrow. Your body needs to have a balance of calcium and magnesium. Okay, so you need both of these things in there, and oftentimes we don't get enough magnesium, okay? You're gonna get magnesium a little bit from vegetables. You're gonna get a lot of magnesium if you do like high cacao chocolate. You're gonna get some from other nuts and seeds as well. You can get it from whole grains as well. If you're gonna do whole grains, I'd recommend doing something like an ancient grain, like quinoa or amaranth or something like that, as opposed to bread, because you're actually not gonna get a lot from bread, and you're gonna get a bunch of carbs and things like that as well, okay? But magnesium, average adult, anywhere from 400 to 500 milligrams a day. If you're chronically stressed, you can take upwards of 800 to 1,000 milligrams a day, okay? If you take too much, you'll know. You'll go to the bathroom a lot, and you know not to take that much. But it's a great way of letting you know if you take too much, okay? CoQ10, okay? CoQ10 is also known as ubiquinol. If anyone takes a statin, you should be taking CoQ10, because a statin dramatically reduces your body's absorption rates of CoQ10 inside of your body, okay? Even if you aren't taking a statin, you should be making sure you're getting enough CoQ10 from your diet, or if you have any type of cardiovascular problems, you want to be taking CoQ10. CoQ10 is an antioxidant. It protects against specifically stress to your heart. And so if you're not getting enough CoQ10, it raises your risk for having a heart attack, it raises your risk for having blood pressure problems. It's one of the big kind of like missing nutrients that we lose over time, okay? Omega-3s, we talked about those. Oh, sorry, CoQ10, 60 to 100 milligrams a day. Okay, omega-3s, as far as a supplement is concerned, I will caveat it with the fact that if you don't change your diet, you need to take a lot of omega-3 supplements, okay? People ask me to the tune of like, how much omega-3 should I take if I'm not gonna change my diet? I had one person who was like, I'm not buying grass-fed meat, it's too much. I'm not spending $3 more per pound or whatever it is. And I was like, okay, so let's go through your diet. And she went through it with me, and I'm like, all right, you get like no omega-3s in your diet every day. She's like, okay, well then how much fish oil? I'll just take fish oil. I was like, you need to take a whole bottle a day. And she's like, are you kidding me? I was like, no, I mean, there's 30 capsules in here, they're 500 milligrams a piece. You need to take at least a bottle, maybe 2 a day, I don't know. I was like, you can't out-supplement a bad diet. So when it comes to like your fats, do I take a fish oil? Yes. I also change everything else and add that on just to tick me up a little bit more. Because I know even as I try to get tons of omega-3s into my diet, I might not get enough. So it's more of an additional thing. If you don't change your diet, take a bottle a day. Okay? And you won't cause the gastric disturbance, but you're gonna smell like a fish. I don't know what you like more. You know, if you don't want people near you, if you wanna keep space, you know, that's perfect. Take part out of you. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about some of the more like natural things for reducing inflammation. One of the big things with nutrition is keeping that whole inflammatory response down. So one of the great things that you can like add to your smoothies or take is curcumin. Curcumin's the active ingredient in curry powder. It's highly anti-inflammatory. There's more than like 600 studies published on it on Info, which is a great naturally based health research website. It's been shown to be more effective as an anti-inflammatory than aspirin or Tylenol. It's a great way to actually get your body in an anti-inflamed state and prevent against a lot of these arteriovascular problems, okay? It's been shown to be more effective than aspirin. And as a side note with aspirin, I talked about this last year as well. If you haven't had a heart attack, you should not be taking a baby aspirin for prevention. The American Heart Association announced that last year, roughly around this time, it was like February of last year. Here's the problem that I have with that is like we talked about at our heart workshop last year, that research came out in 2014 that said that you're more likely to have a major bleeding event than you are to prevent a heart attack by taking aspirin, okay? So it's the problem is sometimes it takes like 5 years to get to everyone, you know what I mean, when that stuff's going on through them. Another couple great things to add into your diet, these are both blood sugar stabilizing compounds. So a lot of times if you have a higher risk for heart disease, it's likely that you have blood sugar problems as well. One of the big things that causes inflammation is blood sugar being out of balance, really high insulin levels as well. So those kind of go hand in hand, and fixing those problems kind of go hand in hand as well. In addition to all the diet things that we talked about, there are some great nutrients you can take in that help really stabilize your blood sugar, help stop the extreme spikes and valleys, and help ease your body's need for insulin. Those two are cinnamon or bitter melon. There's another one called berberine as well. But literally you can just like add a scoop of organic cinnamon into your smoothie in the morning. You can find bitter melon on Amazon. If you're gonna have a more high carbohydrate meal, cheat meal if you will, you can do that around it, and it's gonna help kind of protect against that giant insulin spike through there. Okay? Cool. You guys have any questions on nutrition?
Yeah, you have one that's kind of missing there. You don't mention iron.
Okay.
Is there any relationship to?
I don't see iron deficiencies as being really huge. More in women, but it's not like one of the big ones when it comes to blood pressure problems. I know. It's not one of the biggest ones though on there at all with regards to blood pressure problems. At least from what I've read. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions at all?
Just better cinnamon or berberine?
I don't know. I just know that they all work pretty well. I don't know which one's like more effective. Sorry. Okay, so
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
There's a question over here to the right.
Can you
Yes.
have too much cinnamon?
Pardon?
Can you have too much cinnamon?
Yes. You'll know it. It'll burn. It won't like cause distress through there, but yeah, exactly. The cinnamon challenge. Don't take it without water.
Well, why not put a teaspoon or two in my coffee every day?
That's fine. Yeah, I mean you could do tons of it. It would be too much, but anywhere from like a teaspoon or tablespoon or two. That's what I do daily, and it's not too much. But yeah, don't take it without water. There's a dragon challenge. You try to take a teaspoon of cinnamon without water, it'll come out everywhere.
Good.
So in addition to that, so one of the things I wanted to talk about as well, this is kind of like the last thing we'll talk about, is how to exercise to help prevent heart disease. There's a couple things that have been shown to help really benefit people long-term when it comes to longevity. And I want to keep this as simple as possible for you guys. There's something in life called the MED, okay? Or the minimal effective dose. How much of something do you have to do to get a good result, okay? So for a lot of us, I think we get hesitant when it comes to exercising or making changes because we think like, oh, what's that gonna do, you know? I'm not gonna go to the gym because I don't have time to join a gym and spend an hour a day in the gym. The reality is when it comes to exercising, you don't have to do that to get a really good desired result, okay? Most research I've read shows that in as little as about 40 minutes to an hour of exercise a week, you can have drastic results on your health, okay? There's two big things you have to focus on when it comes to fitness. We want to keep high muscle tone. High heart rate variability. Honestly, that's about it, because I can explain both of these things, okay? So high muscle tone. So we want to keep your body with a lot of muscle as long as possible, okay? What's made by your muscles? Anyone know there's a hormone? It's not estrogen, it is testosterone. Muscles make testosterone inside of your body. So naturally speaking, after the age of 30, for all of us, our testosterone levels start to dwindle, okay? So by keeping good muscle tone longer, people who have better muscle tone don't die as often, in all honesty. They've done research studies where people of all ages have worked out twice a week, and it reduces all-cause mortality risk by like 46%. It's incredible. So if we want to keep you guys healthy long-term, you want to lift heavy things. Furniture, small animals, you know what I mean? Very heavy pillows, bed mattresses. Safely, they say that you want to, yes, they say you want to lift heavy things, essentially. So you need to do something that's causing your body to work on building muscles, okay? The best things you can do are compound movements, especially ones that are involving your legs, okay? So the best things long-term are doing things like sprints, which dramatically increase the muscle tone in your legs, okay? Deadlifts, doing Roman deadlifts where you're bending your back forward and extending backwards through there. You want to build these trunk muscles and leg muscles as much as humanly possible. Lifting and straining those muscles elicits more testosterone in your body than anything else. And the best way that researchers are liking this, which I love, is that working out your legs is the thing that elicits like a survival response inside of your body as much as humanly possible. Whenever it comes to staying healthier longer, you want to keep binging your body that it's needed. Now that sounds silly, but like people who work out more, people who have responsibilities in life, people who are needed, stay around longer. The people whose health dwindles the fastest are the people who work for 30 years, retire, don't do anything, sit on the couch watching Jeopardy all day, and they die within 5 years on average. You know what I mean? So it's having a purpose in life. Working out as part of that purpose is telling your body, I need to stay alive. I need to keep running from lions. My body still needs to be healthy and still needs to be here, okay? So there's a couple things online that I've looked at, and a lot of research things that I've done, that keeping high muscle tone means this, that maybe 1 to 2 days a week, you do some type of sprint exercise, okay? So that means you can run through your yard, back and forth, okay? You don't have a jogging track to do this. It might look weird, doesn't matter. You're gonna be alive, and they're gonna be sick, okay? You can also do this inside of your house. If you don't wanna go outside, you can run in place as fast as you can, and that'll elicit a similar response. So for 20 seconds, sprint as fast as you can, and then stop. And then sprint in place as fast as you can, and then stop. That's still eliciting the same response, yes?
For those that don't have that capability, does speed walking work?
Going as fast as you can go is the thing. So my sprint is slower than someone else's sprint, is faster than someone else's sprint. It doesn't matter. It's about you going to the maximum of your capability. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay? So 1 to 2 days a week, you're going to work on sprinting in some way, shape, or form. Okay? And this also includes doing things like what's called high-intensity interval training. You guys heard of that term before? HIIT training, high-intensity interval training. That means you go really hard for 20 to 30 seconds, then you take a break. You go really hard for 20 to 30 seconds, then you take a break. Most of you guys who are patients here, you guys got the book, right? Did any of you guys ever use the bookmark? Do you guys know that has like 24 high-intensity interval training workouts on there that like we made for you guys? Like we tell people about it, but I don't know if they use it, but like that bookmark is like your starting key, like that we recorded for you guys to give you all the access to these workouts in there essentially. But doing this type of training helps keep your muscle tone high, and we know when people do lift heavy weights or do high intensity interval training, it has a drastic effect on your long-term hormone balance. It lowers your cortisol levels. They took people who worked out in a gym, not high intensity. The person you see at the gym who's like watching TV while walking, you know what I mean? And then they like go to the water fountain for 5 minutes, and then they do a set, and then they wait like 4 minutes, and they do another light set, and then they wait 4 minutes, and then they like take a shower and leave. Those people who did like 60 to 70% of their max capacity for an hour, And they compared them against people who did like 80% of their max capacity, like a really high percentage of their max heart rate for 10 to 12 minutes, and these people had better results in like a fifth of the time, okay? So it makes a huge difference there long term. You wanna go as high intensity as you can. You don't have to do it for a long time though, because you can, okay? You get a better response overall. People who do high intensity workouts like that, on average, is a 12-week research study, people lost 3.1 pounds more fat in this side than on this side. Same overall work, these people just did it in a lesser amount of time, which is what I'm really all about, okay? The last thing is you wanna keep high heart rate variability. By doing these high intensity interval training exercises, the sprints, lifting heavy weights a couple times per week, you're going to do something that's called expanding your body's heart rate variability. So you're gonna increase your heart rate's ability to go really high and really low. One of the best ways for preventing heart disease long-term is doing that, okay? You wanna get your heart rate up as high as it can and get it as low as let it go as low as it can. By doing HIIT training or interval training, you're gonna actually accomplish that with it as well, okay? Cool. Anyone have any questions on exercising, working out? It's really simple. A couple days a week, you need to lift something heavy, you need to sprint, you need to do high intensity interval training. Those three concepts essentially for that, okay? Cool. So we're gonna go all the way back now. I'm gonna talk about some of the tests that you can do. So if we go through things and you really wanna know what are the things that I need to look at, what are the tests I need to get to make sure that I'm either preventing heart disease or if I haven't, know what's actually important. It's up here, right? Okay, so the first thing I'll talk about is the middle one right here, the lipoprotein testing. So if we're gonna talk about cholesterol, there's one factor with cholesterol that we know is the more predictive factor for heart disease than anything else, okay? But it doesn't have to do with total cholesterol, it doesn't have to do with LDL-HDL ratios. There are two compounds that if they're extremely high inside of your body, it's gonna actually increase your risk, okay? And those are called your lipoproteins, lipoprotein A and B. So if you want what's the most effective test to actually see if your cholesterol being off is actually causing a problem, you wanna do a lipoprotein test, okay? It's either called a lipoprotein AB ratio, or lipoprotein ratio, or lipoprotein A test. There's a lot of different names for them, but that's the test that you wanna do, okay? It may also be known, depending on the clinic you're ordering it from, something called an NMR, okay? Which is a nuclear magnetic resonance test. It's actually measuring the size of your cholesterol. The smaller the LDL molecules are, the smaller the lipoproteins are, the more at risk you are. If they're big fluffy cholesterol molecules, you're okay. The smaller ones are the ones that actually do carry a higher risk. But it's not the cholesterol molecules, it's the carrier molecules, which are called lipoproteins. That's the most effective test we have today of actually seeing if your blood truly is bad, not just basing it off of your cholesterol, okay? Second one is C-reactive protein. That actually looks at your overall inflammation levels inside of your body. So one of the best markers we have to go off of is really that. We wanna know if you have inflammation. If you don't, then there's something else going on there, but most people have inflammation. So it's not just about saying, am I eating right, am I doing those things? What's the end result inside of my body? Another great test is called the homocysteine test. People with high homocysteine levels have higher rates of disease, especially heart disease, okay? You need B vitamins to lower your homocysteine levels with a couple of other compounds as well. But if you are concerned for coronary artery disease or concerned for stroke or a family history, and you really want to know your markers of where you're at, that's a great way to do it, okay? The top test, the very top one is called our max metabolics testing. So we searched for years when we first opened our office to do a test that would actually tell people kind of a gamut of where they are, looking at their nutrient deficiencies, if they have any type of oxidative stress, what their gut profile looks like, if you have, yeast overgrowth or gastrointestinal problems, if you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria inside of your gut. How well are your mitochondria actually producing energy? We couldn't find one. We worked with Genova Diagnostics to kind of reformulate one of the tests they have that kind of gave us all of those in one giant panel. They let us know what nutrients you need to take and what amount, where you're deficient, where your risk factors are, if your gut's healthy, because if your gut's a wreck, doesn't matter what else you do, you gotta fix your gut first because you can't absorb nutrients with a bad gut. You know what I mean? You're making expensive urine essentially by buying all the supplements in the world and taking them. That was my dad for years. We had this giant box of supplements, you know what I mean? And we eat wings all day. So I was like, come on, you know what I mean? Like you gotta eat healthy too. You can't just take a lot of supplements. If your gut's a wreck, you gotta fix that first through that area, okay? We put those in there for you guys. We didn't have these tests available before this test. For me, we've expanded our office. If you guys have been with us for a couple of years, We went from myself and Dr. Marissa about 4 years ago. Now we have 4 doctors here and a bigger team, and we're finally expanding our capacity to help you guys more. So before, I didn't want to order lab panels because I couldn't even deal with working with a lab, but now we have access to a lab. So these rates are lower often than even your copay rates can be for other markers for tests. The metabolics one is pretty high because it's a very comprehensive test. The other ones are all under $100. So if you guys are frustrated or looking for answers with those or want to work with us, we can literally order them now for you. And you go into a lab that's within 5-10 miles of here. There's a couple of different ones, and you just walk in, get your lab drawn. We get the results in just a couple of days for you guys. Okay?
Is it built to insurance or is it out of pocket?
It's out of pocket with these. It's out of pocket. If you want it to be covered, you've got to go to your general medical practitioner, and it all depends then on your copays for them. I've had patients unfortunately come to me and say, "Yeah, I got that test. It was like a $400 test," and I'm like, "I could have got it for $90 for you." So it all depends on your insurance. So if you really want to get the best of both worlds, ask them the cost. If it's less, go there. If it's less, come here. I don't care as long as you get it. It doesn't matter to me. In fact, if it's the same price, do it there. If it's less worth it. We don't make really hardly any money on these tests. We just offer them to you guys. It's not where we, make our dime. We're literally with lab tests, since you guys are here so often. It's easier for us to just order them than try to do guesswork if we can't get answers with you guys. Okay, sound cool? I want to wrap up at 7:11. I wanted to go about 75 minutes to 7:15. Does anyone have any general questions at all? Cool, awesome. So from here, how it'll work is this. I'm going to stand up here, and you guys are all free to do whatever you guys need to do, okay? But I'm up here to answer questions. You guys have personal questions, anything like that. Dr. Marissa is also here if you guys have any technical questions for us. Sam is helping, which ones? New patients? Okay,
Yep.
so if you're a guest here and you want to do a thorough evaluation with us, if you want to get your health back on track, get your spine checked, we're going to do a comprehensive evaluation with you guys. It's a full exam. Any diagnostic tests include x-rays that you guys need. We do all of those for you guys. Our normal cost for a full exam and x-rays is $170, and most times we offer a family rate of $49 for you guys, okay? We do have a special event that's coming up next week. It's our Friends and Family Week, where we do an unpublished special, because it's lower than the maximum discount we can offer by the state. It's $29, but it's only for friends and family, and you can't tell anyone. So if you guys do want to become a patient, if you're not a patient of ours, you will get a full exam, all your x-rays, everything you need to know exactly what's going on for $29. And Sam can help you guys do that. So if you're guests, you actually got a sheet to fill out that has your information on there. If you take it up to Sam, she'll help you get that scheduled for you guys. It has to be by the end of next week. Nothing going past that. So today, tomorrow, Friday, all next week it's good for, okay? If you guys are patients here, we talked about a lot of supplements and deficiencies and things like that. So for the heart workshop specifically, I don't put like a heart disease packet together because I don't know what you have or what you need, and if I try to put a packet together, there'd be way too many things, okay? So we do discounts on supplements. It's 10% off of all supplements. If you get 3 or more, it's 15% off. You guys all have order forms on there. Angel is helping with doing all of the orders, and then Tasha is up there as well, so if you guys have them, you guys can give them to them. If you guys just want to get out of here, you can drop it off and pick it up at your next appointment. If you're a patient, if you're a guest, pick it up tonight. But if you're a patient, you can literally drop that off and just say, "I'll see you later." And we'll take care of it for you, we'll bundle up for you, we'll give it to you guys on your next visit when you come in, so you don't have to wait in line with everyone else. We have a lot of people here, so it should go for a bunch of people, okay? This is gonna be available online. So what I implore you guys to do is to not keep this information for yourself. Get that, share it with friends. It doesn't matter to me who gets it. I want to spread this information as much as humanly possible. To do a talk like this and put all this information together probably took 50 to 100 hours. It's painstaking work to find these research studies for you guys, and not just sit up in here and tell you guys eat low fat, eat high grain. I want to have everything cited when I talk to you guys, so it's all backed up. So if you go to your doctor, you guys are empowered. Way too often I see patients get bad advice from good intending doctors who don't have great information. They're overworked oftentimes, they're not doing research on longevity or wellness, and they're basically doing what they were told. But the problem is in the last 10, 20 years, so much has changed with nutrition, with blood lab values, with what we're understanding, and you're not gonna get that information, unfortunately, a lot of times for the next 10 to 20 years. And by then, you'll have taken a drug that you see at 3 a.m. that says if you take this, call this number because there's all these side effects going on with it. So really, I want you guys to be as healthy as possible for as long as humanly possible, okay? Last thing before we go, if you guys are patients here and know people who needed to be here or who wanted help, we do have an appreciation week next week. there is an offer that's going, it's just for your friends and family, it's $29. Whenever you guys get checked in for your appointment, you guys get a text that has a little link on there. You can send it to your friends. If you really just want to force them in here, you can schedule them yourself, and we'll give you paperwork to give them. And if they don't show up, it's no big deal, but a lot of patients do that. They're like, hey, I scheduled you for this appointment. They're like, all right, fine, I'll be there. It's the one time a year, we really do it once or twice a year, we do it for $29, so if you have someone who's on the fence about it, it's a great week for them to get in. This week, next Wednesday, we're doing an appreciation day. So if you're a patient in here and you want to move your appointment to that day, we're gonna have food, prizes, giveaways. We got like a really cool prize wind tunnel that you stand in that like blows bunches of stuff at you. It's actually really cool. There's gonna have like some grand prizes in there and things like that. So come on that day if you can. If you want to, you can move your appointment to that day. We're not doing any special visits, only new patients and adjustments on that day. So like we won't review your x-rays or anything on that day. This is gonna be just a fun like packed day. We have 2 massage therapists coming in as well. We're giving you free massages all day long, so make sure you're here for that, okay? And then we've got a couple other events that are in your packet coming up in the next month. Stay engaged. Let this be the springboard for your future success, you guys, okay? Cool? That's it. Thank you guys. Have a good night.